welcome to the Alive Abundant Living Session 2A. In this video, we're going to talk about food and teach you a basic and easy tool to create balanced and healthy meals. There are so many food choices out there. How do we decide what to eat? Usually we pick what tastes good and what's most convenient. Today you'll learn a new way to think about and structure your meals. We tend to think about food in terms of meals. We have breakfast foods, lunch foods, snack foods, dinner foods. Today I'm going to teach you an easy method for making sure that you create meals that are balanced and healthy. It's easy, but you have to learn how to think about food a little bit differently than what you might be used to. This method is what we call the plate of life. The plate of life will serve as the basic building block of the Alive approach to healthy eating. The plate of life shows you how to eat balanced meals that provide your body with the right amounts of the foods it needs in order to function well over the course of the day. The plate of life is a plate or a meal in which 1/4 of the foods are carbohydrate foods, 1/4 of the foods are protein foods, and half of the foods are vegetables. You'll have to get used to using these new food categories to eat according to the plate of life. Now I'm going to go over each of these categories, carbohydrates, protein, and vegetables, and we'll also talk briefly about fat. Your handouts for today also list the foods within each category. Carbohydrates, or carbs for short, are probably the most plentiful kinds of foods. Everywhere you look, you see carbs. Whereas it's hard to find good protein foods and vegetables at the gas station or convenience store, there are always lots of carb options. Carbs are easier to store for long periods of time on the shelf, which is why they are so widely available. Since carbs are so convenient to get, most of us eat too many of them. So all these different types of foods are carbohydrates. Grains like cereal, rice, and chips, pasta, breads, starchy vegetables. So even though these are vegetables, they're starchy vegetables, so they actually count as carbs. Potato, of course, French fries, corn, and peas. Milk and yogurt are carbs. Sweets like pop, cookies, and cake. And fruits are also carbs. They're very healthy carbs, but they do count as carbohydrates. Each type of food on the plate of life is essential for our health. Carbs are the foods that give our bodies energy. They're like the gas in the car. Carbs are the first thing the body uses for energy. If there aren't enough carbs for you to burn, you'll start to burn your muscles, which is not a good thing. It's important to only eat as much carb food as what you need energy for, though. If you don't eat enough carb, you'll be tired and woozy. However, if you eat too much carb, which is the case for most of us, for the amount of activity you do, the carb won't get burned off and will turn to fat. All carbs get converted to sugar in your body. If they aren't used, then they get turned to fat for storage. So how much carb should we eat at each meal? Well, we said that 1/4 of your meal should be carbohydrate foods. Of course, if you eat a huge meal, that 1/4 of your meal could still be too much carb. Another way of determining the appropriate amount of carb at every meal is to use your fist. At each meal, including breakfast, the amount of carb you eat should be about equivalent to the size of your fist. It's okay that people have different sized fists. The people with bigger fists have bigger bodies, and therefore they need more carb to keep their bodies going. For most of us, eating according to the plate of life means eating fewer carbohydrate foods than we might be accustomed to. The second category is protein. There are fewer protein foods than carbohydrate foods. Proteins include meat, fish, chicken, cheese, eggs, and nuts. Dried beans also have protein, but can also be classified as carbs. On your handouts, nuts are in the fat category. They are high in healthy fats as well as protein. I'm putting them in the protein category. You can add them to the list of proteins on your handout. And why do we need protein? Protein makes up the building blocks of the body. Muscles and bones are made up of protein. Protein is also used for other bodily processes, such as making cells. The body can't function without protein, but we don't need very much of it. How much protein do we need? As we saw on the plate of life diagram, about a quarter of your plate should consist of protein foods. This may be surprising to those of us used to eating big 16-ounce steaks, but we only need about 3 to 4 ounces of protein per meal, which is about the size of your palm without your fingers. Again, if you have a bigger palm, you probably need a little bit more protein than someone with a smaller palm. For most of us, eating according to the plate of life means eating less protein than we're accustomed to. Finally, we get to vegetables. This category is really non-starchy vegetables, or green, red, and orange, and some purple and white vegetables. Remember that the starchy vegetables, such as corn, potatoes, and peas, count as carbohydrates. Why is it important for us to eat vegetables? We're going to talk about this more in the next session, but the main thing to remember about vegetables is that they are all good. Vegetables are sometimes called God's food because they are full of crucial vitamins and minerals that our bodies need for optimal health, but that are not made by the body. Vegetables are the natural pharmacy created by God to keep us living in vibrant energy. Later, we'll talk more about vegetables and how they help the body. As for portions of vegetables, you want to try to make half your meal consist of vegetables. Using your fists, you want to try to eat the amount of vegetables equal to 2 fists at each meal. Unlike carbs and protein, which we have to reduce, most of us have to increase the amount of vegetables we eat at each meal. Eating according to the plate of life means that half of each meal is composed of vegetables. The way many of us are used to eating, the main food at dinner is the meat, and carbs and vegetables are side dishes. In the plate of life, the main food at dinner is vegetables, and meat and carb are portioned more like sides. The amount of vegetables on the plate of life probably makes up the biggest change to how we normally eat. So we have to rethink how we structure our meals. We have to make meals that feature vegetables and have carb and protein as sides, rather than featuring carb or protein and maybe including a small portion of vegetables as a side. Fats are the final type of food. Fat is a complex topic that we're going to address in more detail later. Many fats are healthy for you. For those of you interested in weight loss, it's best to limit added fats like oils and butter to about 1 tablespoon per meal. Also, because bacon and sausage have more fat than protein, we include them in the fat category rather than the protein category. Sorry, they won't count as your breakfast protein even though they're meat. So that's a brief introduction to the plate of life. Try to eat according to the plate of life for a few meals this week and see how it goes. A special note about breakfast. If you can't get yourself to eat vegetables at breakfast, you can use the top of the plate for breakfast. That is, have about a fist of carb and a palm of protein for breakfast. If you get hungry, add some fruit. You can always add fruit to your plate if you need more food. Beware of fruit quantity, though, if you have diabetes. That's all for now. Enjoy your meals with the plate of life.